you think that the ghost cities and vacant buildings in China are not a reality, take a look at this. Very large building, nicely placed in the corner of a busy intersection, empty. It's like a ghost town on this corner. And a construction company ran away with millions and millions of yuan and kickbacks to government officials, and yet there's no tenants, no businesses. That's China. Another Chinese ghost mall. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 floors, starting from the second floor, that are completely empty. Overbuilding, overconfidence in what is basically an economy that is slowing, whether or not you have customers or not. This is a situation in China. All of these suites empty, and almost nobody here. Right there, the 2 towers of the Sinopec building, basically biggest Chinese gas and oil company. And you see some high-rise buildings right there. The building goes on and on and on until everyone is employed building and rebuilding shoddy construction. Where it ends, nobody knows. Oh, what you're seeing there is priceless. That is 3 jumbo digital signage screens right in the shopping mall here in China, and they have the blue screen of death. Wow, maybe they shouldn't have used Microsoft Windows for their platform. What do you think? Yeah, another one of China's ghost high skyscrapers. Okay, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of buildings that are significant size that are empty, almost empty around China. This is a skyscraper that has almost no tenants. And the question is, how does this help the Chinese economy? And before you answer that, just consider that maybe it does, at least in the short term, right? But in the long term, who's going to get paid? Who's going to get revenue from this piece of property? Well, the developers are gone. They've made their money, and the government's taken their cut. I'm sure they'd like to get a lot more. But if you're, the local government, and if you're in charge of filling this massive building with businesses, what do you do? What do you do when you know that there's simply not enough tenants to make this a profitable venture long term? So is China's future looking like it's going to be more and more development, especially to the western portions of China, the new Silk Road, and the underdeveloped areas are going to start to be developed out, and continued migration of people to the cities? And like I've said before, the introduction of 3D printing technology and use for construction. Now, this hasn't been seen very much in architecture around the world, but China's already doing it for small homes, and they have plans to 3D print large buildings, including skyscrapers. Now, this is not something that's going to happen 10, 20 years out. They're already planning on doing it, and that's going to enable them to plan and build even faster and on a greater scale than they have before, which is hard to imagine. But the overbuilding in China has really just begun. I don't really see any end to it. Whether it's transportation, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, we're going to just see the tip of the iceberg here this decade. And next decade, there are some amazing things that are planned. And of course, this perpetual building of infrastructure is not just something that's for China only. If you haven't noticed, China's been building in places like Africa for many, many years. And they're going to continue to build in Africa and other places around the world. So the perpetual building isn't just meant for a domestic market. China can trade for goods, commodities, and make friendships and get the trade agreements that they want by offering their technology, cheap labor, and the ability to pump out large buildings like these for foreign countries that don't have that ability or can't do it cost effectively. So let's take a broad example of the United States and China, two of the biggest economies in the world. The United States for many years now has had a military for hire, where they're using the military power to prop up Dollar Incorporated. And that is called hard power, and it has worked for quite some time. In fact, it's worked way back for the British, and it's kind of a continuation of that. Hard power and propping up your currency as a world reserve currency and controlling markets through the use of force and manipulation. Well, China's new model is this: soft power. Our labor is for hire. We're going to build your infrastructure, and we're going to offer you labor and technology for hire, and use soft power to gain influence and to prop up the renminbi as a viable currency. Which model do you think has legs